Hi everybody, welcome back to this Easter weekend. This is Friday, it's Good Friday, and welcome back to the Easter weekend. I hope y'all have a wonderful Easter weekend. I hope you get to spend it with the ones you love. Hopefully go to church. If you got a good church, at least spend it in the Word, reading about Jesus. And then today we're going to start in John chapter 18 and verse number 33, and we're going to go forward. And this is Jesus standing before Pilate. Jesus standing before Pilate. And Pilate was a Roman governor. He was the Roman governor of Jerusalem at the time. And the Jews did not want to stone Jesus. The Jews wanted to make this completely legal. They wanted Rome to execute him. And for another reason, it was Passover, and they couldn't put anybody to death on Passover. But as we're going to see, God puts him to death. So here we go, verse number 33 in John chapter 18. Then Pilate entered into the judgment hall again and called Jesus and said unto him, Art thou the King of the Jews? Jesus answered him, Sayest thou this thing of thyself, or did others tell it of me? Pilate answered, Am I a Jew? Thine own nation and the chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Jesus answered, My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Jesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. And Pilate saith unto him, What is truth? Pilate doesn't know what truth is. Pilate's Roman. He grew up with all these Roman gods, and none of them were the truth. None of them were righteous, were just, were sinless. Zeus himself, the chief god of the Roman gods, they had many gods. The chief god had adulterous relationships. The gods several times were in contention with each other. I am not a Roman god historian or expert on the Roman gods. So I don't know exactly what all, but I know that they were not worthy of being called gods. But they were. They were called gods. And that's who the Romans grew up worshiping. They had little idols of them. They had temples built to them. They had days and holidays named after them. Pilate is a product of this world of relativism. You know, this God's good, Zeus is good, until you compare him to, I don't know, Mercury. I don't know if that's the Athenian god or if that's the Roman god. But then you take and compare him to Mercury, then he looks like a scoundrel. And then you take Mercury, who looks great against Zeus, and you compare him to Mars, and Mercury looks like he's a lunatic. Everything was relative back then. And today, you see relativism today. This is my truth. Speak your truth. Speak your truth. Well, there's one truth. There's the absolute truth. There's the absolute truth. God wouldn't let us walk along the planet without absolute truth. And that's his word. So Pilate here in verse number 37, Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Jesus answered, saying, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. Pilate saith unto him, What is truth? And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews, and saith unto them, I find no fault in him at all. Pilate finds no fault in him. But ye have a custom that I should release unto you one at the Passover. Will ye therefore that I release unto you the King of the Jews? Then cried they all again, saying, Not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. Chapter number 19. Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe, and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. So they beat him, They put a royal robe on him, a crown of thorns on him. They mocked him, and they beat him some more. Pilate therefore went forth again, in verse number 4. Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. That's twice Pilate has said that. I find no fault in him. Pilate, who being who he is, could find fault in anybody. And what is it to him? Jesus is a Jew. As far from what I understand, proper Roman citizens look down on the Jews. And here Pilate is saying, I find no fault in him. I'm not saying Pilate's a great guy. I'm saying he's not a great guy. But he keeps saying, I find no fault in Jesus. Pilate, who lives by moral relativism, his gods are relative to each other regarding how good or bad they are, finds no fault in him. Verse number 5, Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore, and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. They're ready, they're out for blood. The chief priests and officers, when they saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And we've seen already, like in, we've talked about before, how they just out. They have, because of their pride, they have denied the truth, cover up the truth, and then they're promoting a lie at a certain point. And that's what they're doing here. This is their promotion of a lie. They're wanting to crucify God. And Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. I think he's mocking him. He says, Take ye him and crucify him? I find no fault in him. That's the third time. This is the third time that Pilate has said that he finds no fault in him. That's telling you something right there. That's telling you, and let's see, let's look at Peter, and you don't have to turn there. You can pause it if you want to. 1 Peter 2, 21 and 22. 1 Peter 2, 21 and 22. I thought I had it marked, but I didn't. 1 Peter 2, 21 and 22. And this is Peter speaking. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was gall found in his mouth. And Peter would know if there were any gall found in Jesus' mouth. And you know, it says that a man is not defiled by what he takes in, but what comes out of a man's mouth is what defiles him. And Peter, who spent at least 3 years with him, Peter would have known. Peter would have known. And you know, Peter was crucified, I believe upside down, for his belief and his faith and the fact that he wouldn't pull back on his statements that Jesus was God and that he resurrected. Peter wouldn't pull back from any of that. So for Peter to say from his mouth there was no guile in him, he'd been around him for 3 years. And if he didn't hear anything out of Jesus' mouth in 3 years to defile him, chances are Jesus never said anything to defile himself. Because 3 years is a long time to go without saying anything to be like, that's not quite right. All right, so Pilate saith unto them, in verse number 6 of chapter 19, Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. So he mocks the chief priest, and he tells them, I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, verse number 7, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. Jesus didn't say anything. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee? Pilate's begging Jesus to say something, say anything to stop this. And Jesus will stop at nothing to finish this. He will stop at nothing. He was on this planet, walked around it 33 years. I believe 33 years. Lived a sinless life. he was well into adulthood, 33 years, lived a sinless life to be God's spotless lamb. God's sacrifice for our sins on the cross. So we wouldn't have to do it. Because we can't do it. God did it. Came down as Jesus, crucified, had himself crucified. He laid down his life freely. Didn't have to. And Pilate gave him an out. Pilate, who represents the world here. I know that the chief priests also represent the world. Both of them represent the world. But Pilate, a moral relativist, is saying, listen, tell me something, give me something so I can stop this. Jesus won't do it. He won't do it. So if you don't think, or if you know someone who doesn't think that Jesus doesn't love them, God doesn't love them, he would stop at nothing to die for them. He had his out right there. I mean, he had his out multiple times, but right there in black and white in print on paper, Jesus was not going to stop. He was not stopping this. This was going forward, whether Pilate liked it or not. Jesus answered in verse number 11, "Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin." Verse number 12, "And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar." Well, this is looking bad on Pilate now. "When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the Pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he saith unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priest answered, We have no king but Caesar." These chief priests lost their minds. They have got the sin of the devil in them. They're ready for Jesus to be gone. And Pilate, who's been fighting for him, the crowd and the chief priests have threatened Pilate, and they finally said, listen, we're going to let it be known to Caesar that you're no friend to Caesar's, which means that, it could be out that Pilate's going to cause insurrection, that he's out to get Caesar, that he could raise up an army against him, any number of things. It's going to give Pilate a black eye, and Pilate does not want that. Pilate just rolls over. Then delivered he him, therefore, unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. Pilate was going to try and stop it. He was trying to stop it. But then his humanity showed. His humanity showed. Let's go over here to Acts 3:13. 3:13 is the core verse that we're going to look at. But let's just start with chapter 3 and read forward to verse 13. Chapter 3. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour. And a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple. So this crippled man, who's been crippled since birth, goes and lays at the gates called Beautiful of the temple and asks for handouts. He begs. Who, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. He's begging Peter and John. And Peter, fastening his eyes upon him with John, said, Look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Peter said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. And he took him by the right hand and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he, leaping up, stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. And all the people saw him walking and praising God, and they knew that it was he which sat for alms at the Beautiful gate of the temple. and they were filled with wonder and amazement at that which had happened unto him. And as the lame man which was healed held Peter and John, all the people ran together unto them in the porch that is called Solomon's, greatly wondering. And when Peter saw it, he answered unto the people, Ye men of Israel, why marvel ye at this? Or why look ye so earnestly on us, as though by our own power or holiness we had made this man to walk? The God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the God of our fathers, hath glorified his son Jesus, whom ye delivered up and denied him in the presence of Pilate, when he was determined to let him go. Pilate was determined to let him go. But ye denied the Holy One and the just, and desired a murderer to be granted unto you. Talking about Barabbas. Pilate. That's saying a lot. That Pilate, who could find fault in anybody, who was a moral relativist, was bound and determined not to let Jesus be crucified. He was bound and determined to let him go. Peter said it right there. But in the end, he did. He delivered him up to the masses, to the mob mentality. He delivered him up to save his own skin. He was about to be called an enemy of Caesar's. Along with Jesus, Pilate gave him up. But that was the plan. That was Jesus' plan. That's why he didn't say a word. Jesus didn't stop it. Wasn't going to stop it. Ever since Genesis 22:8, when Abraham said to Isaac, God will provide himself a lamb. He did. He did. God provided himself a lamb. Okay. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for coming back. I hope it was good for you. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy doing this. So, God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful Easter weekend. Until we see you again, you'll have a wonderful week, and God bless you.